All right. Welcome to Deepnight Revelation. We'll be picking up where we left off last week. Last week, these guys got pulled into playing a match of the game, and which uh, actually I feel better about because it now gets to convey to them how stupid this sport is and how ridiculous it is. And it's not just me saying, this game is dumb. No, they got to witness it firsthand. And towards the end of that uh, game, they ended up breaking up a fight between two of the crew members, Annalise and Sornven. Evidently, Annalise is kind of a pain in the ass, is what she is, and I hope that was conveyed. She's a little wisp of a girl, but and everybody else playing the game is obviously bigger than she is. But that doesn't mean that she is unable to put the hurt on other players. She uses those bony elbows and knees to her advantage, and a lot of people are getting tired of it. Sornvin knocked her on her ass, and and that started a big fight. And she hauled off and punched him again, and so they had to have a talking to, and started treated them like infants, and basically told them each individually that he was on their side, and so um, uh, that's how that worked out.
And we added some new rules to the game.
Yes, yes, yes. Due to a set of controversial plays. Um, Due to a set of controversial plays, evidently you can move goals out of them. Just toss them out of the match. But that was most of that. They were another 2 weeks had passed, and so um, we'll be picking up where that left off. Before we get started, we'd like to thank a friend of the Greenwater Guildhall. None of these are sponsorships or partnerships of any kind. They are just products that we really like. Today, we would like to thank the Speechless Bard. She makes beautiful leather products for your tabletop role-playing games, such as leather covers for your core rulebooks. She's got a roll-up dice mat that looks like a spell scroll when it's all rolled up. There's a really cool item that is called the Spell Compendium that is a bifurcated box that can be used to hold cards or be used as a rolling tray. And on the inside cover is a magnetic spell tracker. And she does all of the work by hand. She's an amazingly talented artist. She is so diligent of doing things by hand that she actually goes to the tanneries and picks out the leather swaths by hand rather than ordering in bulk. She just does amazing work. If you are going to order from her, I highly recommend getting those orders in now. In fact, it might already be too late for a Christmas delivery, but you're going to want to get them in soon because she's over in the UK, and so it can take a little bit of time to get over here. And of course, she does the work by hand, so you have to take into account the artistry, and that takes time. So get those orders in if it's something that you want to purchase. We also have a merch store. Our stuff doesn't take hardly any time at all to ship. It is via Zazzle. We've got T-shirts and buttons and hoodies and a beer stein and a rocks glass. All sorts of stuff is on that site. And 100% of the proceeds from that store goes directly back into our channel. It helps us cover little nitpicky monthly subscription things like the $9.99 subscription to Roll20 Pro, or the $5.99 subscription to Incarnate Pro, or saving up money for the massive yearly subscription to Filmora. All of those don't seem like much in and of themselves, but then at the end of the month, they kind of all get together and kind of sideswipe you. And some months it can be debilitating. If you want to help us make ends meet, go over to our Zazzle store and get yourself a T-shirt and a rocks glass, and we thank you for everything that you do for us. All right, so I'm just going to say that Bocephus is back. A little bit enough time has gone by. He He was able to patch up the crewmate that was injured from the cave-in. Um, and since Wes isn't here, I could just make the blanket statement that he's put back together with all of his original parts. He doesn't have any extras. No electric windows, no spinners in his knees, none of that. Um, so he is back. Surgery went well, and that crewmate or crew member is up on Revelation, recovering. Um, no, nothing major going on. But while you guys have been down here, excuse me. So while you guys have been down here, of course, more matches of the game have gone on. No further. I mean, the usual arguments and scuffs that happen during the game, but nothing big like between Annalise and Sorenman. And everything has been going fairly well, and you guys have gotten some communication from Deepnight from the bridge, and basically they have let you in or let you know what the plan is. And let me find the So the next jump from where you are, P3, will be DSR 3, which will be another commentary body. And then from that comet, you will jump to DSS 2, which their long range telemetry is showing to be a K3 main sequence star with a small system. And I mean, they don't have any real definitive evidence that there is a gas giant there, but they are picking up enough bodies in the system that they figure that they could even there should be ice there, so they can refuel the ice. And they're planning. Of course, because they're trying to catch a comet as the first part of that, there is a there's a window of time, but they're saying any time between now and within the next 2 or 3 weeks, really is when the ship would have to leave. But if that were to get extended to like 5 weeks, it's not that big of a deal. Anything beyond that, they're talking about having to do completely new astrogation for the jump, and or else they'll miss their window of catching this comet. During this, in this like Zoom call that you're doing, during this, there is a bit of an argument that you both overhear between this guy, Taryn Reese, this guy again, and he's the ex-Navy imperialist, and some of the researchers, and there are several other I guess you could call them security type personnel that are, of course, taking Taryn's side. And this argument is that essentially what's going on is that some of these researchers have been viewing the people of P3. And the people, I mean, wait, the people of P3. So the researchers that are studying them are convinced that these so-called people of P3 are showing signs of sentience. And I mean, you guys saw some of it when you first got here. There is some simple tool use. but tool use in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean sentience, but it would definitely mean that they're on the road to it. I mean, that's the general belief, is that um, tool use leads to self-awareness. And so these researchers have started to get a little closer with the people, the people of P3, than what uh, Taran Reed and some of these other security personnel would really feel comfortable with. And what this argument is over is that one of the researchers was able to kind of more or less infiltrate an encampment of the people and basically just sat very still for a couple of hours until they just kind of ignored the fact that he was there and went about their business around him, and then he started to be able to interact with them. And basically, he was learning how to crack open um, these nuts that grow in some of the trees, and he was able to um, assist the people in building one of their fish traps. Um, and then, like almost as quickly as that situation turned on, the people turned it back off, and then suddenly became very nervous and backed away from him. And now they don't want anything to do with him. Like they they just suddenly like, oh wait a minute, like a cat, oh, I like getting petted. Wait a minute, that's a person touching me. Don't touch me, that kind of thing. And so they just backed away. And this made the security personnel, as soon as they heard about this, they were a little bit more than concerned. They're like, you shouldn't be getting that close to them. They're not people. They're animals. And uh, the researchers keep going on about how they're on the verge of sentience, and they're if they're not already sentient, just because we can't understand their language as such doesn't mean that they're not communicating. They are clearly sentient. Meanwhile, Terran brings up, he says they're nothing but animals, and he says and he says, I will state this unequivocally, they are animals that have quite a bit of meat on them, and it doesn't look like they'd be too hard to hunt. And this, of course, makes the researchers upset. He goes so far as to suggest that they could easily be domesticated and grown in the bio environments on Deepnight Revelation, so we could have a little herd of them, self-replicating, and we could all eat better. And the researchers are just simply aghast at this. One researcher also has accused Terran and some of these other security people of purposely kind of taunting the people of P3 because the people, and mostly it's because it is kind of hilarious. They have this defense response of rearing up on their hind legs or multiple legs and kind of trying to look fearful by coughing and wheezing at people, and of course Tyrion and the security personnel find this hilarious. But mostly they just, whenever the the people of P3 are being a nuisance and getting too close to whatever it is that they're doing, the security people will taunt them and cause them to rear up until they leave. And the researchers are pissed off about that too. This is not acceptable. And so this argument's like getting closer to you guys as this is coming, and the researchers are kind of looking to you, like, we're not actually going to eat sentient beings, are we?
No, and in fact, I if you guys could maybe make a informational video about the dangers of Prion's disease, so that we can share this with some of the security guards that don't have problems with cannibalism.
Right, right. You know, um, Yeah, that's there's that. There's a problem with eating sentient things. I mean, no matter how much like pork they taste. I saw,
Yeah.
I saw a post
Isn't
where
that linked into eating brain matter?
I I I think maybe, but I know that it affects the brain, where it's basically it's similar to mad cow disease, where it just causes holes to open up into the tissue.
It's a protein that triggers proteins that are in the brains to fold abnormally.
Right, but I thought that the prions themselves are within the brain, which is how it spreads.
Possibly, yeah, I'd have to look at it. It's been a while since I read about that, but
It's just a question. It doesn't affect whether or not I want to eat a fucking thing that has
right.
that can reason.
Well, I was just gonna say I saw a post on that a meme that somebody had posted on Facebook, a meme that was actually a copy of an actual post, where this some guy's cutting into a fairly low scale medium rare steak. Medium is really, I mean, it's in quotes. And the guys, I'm convinced that people that eat their steak like this actually are cannibals and eat people. And I'm like, I mean, with the right barbecue sauce, I'm not going to say no. I mean, I've got a smoker. I can cook pretty much anything. When I got my smoker, the cats weren't even safe. I was like digging everything out of the freezer. but so yeah, there, one of the researchers admits, he says, yeah, that's a good point. We don't know. I mean, if they're sentient, that prion disease is. I mean, I would imagine in this day and age, it's probably curable. But still, you know, who wants to go through that, right? And so he's like, yeah, it's a good idea.
So yeah, you just make a little informational video. We'll force the entire ship to watch it as part of a regular training.
Well, and one researcher just says, we'll be happy to do that, but I mean, he says you guys are in command down here at the very least. If you just set a policy to leave these things, don't harm them.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. I mean, this is a garden planet. There has to be other edible animals on the planet that are not so close to sentience, to civilization.
Yeah, I mean, there's the chicken raptors. I mean,
yeah,
everybody likes that. And there's the bat thingies. And I mean, if you're into seafood, there's crustaceans. Just don't let one sting you. So, essentially, about another 2 weeks goes by. So you guys can add another 2 weeks to your study period, first of all.
It's at 8 weeks I get to roll, right?
Correct.
right.
And so what I did, I implemented this on Wednesday night. If you already have the skill, I mean, this really all applies if you've got the skill at 1 or higher, and you're trying to raise it up again. You can add your skill to that roll. So, normally it's going to be an education roll. Let's say that it's, art performance plus education. So at the end of your 8 weeks, you could roll that art performance plus education. If you get 8 or better, then you get to add to it. And my reasoning for that is that it's easier to become more skillful in a skill that you already have than it is to become fluent in the skill to begin with. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So have you hit the 8 week?
No, I'm at 6.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you've another 2 weeks has gone by. You guys are feeling pretty rested and relaxed. These like I said, the ship said, or the meeting that you had with the bridge of Revelation said, 2 to 3 weeks, and you need to start packing up. But if it was extended to 5 weeks, then we could totally understand. Well, the researchers are now coming to you saying, well, we could really use another 2 or 3 weeks to study the people of P3 because, I mean, of course, I mean, we've only been here for almost 2 months. That's just not enough time. If we could get just another 2 or 3 weeks, we could try to finalize the data that we've already collected. I mean, that's really on you guys. I mean, unless you decide you want to, nope, we're just packing up and we're going.
Yeah, no, I'm all for them finishing whatever research they're in the middle of, as long as that date doesn't keep getting pushed back.
Okay.
Yeah, how much is they gonna probably not tax, but offset our stores as opposed to? I didn't particularly enjoy flying into a fucking gas giant last time.
Right. Hold on just a second. Sorry, my cat's trying to start a fight through the door. I mean, not gonna do anything, but anyways. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, 2 to 3 weeks was optimal. They could push it out to, 5. So, I mean, adding another 2 to 3 weeks would push you to the 5. Anything beyond the 5 week mark, they would have to start doing new astrogation planning in order to make the intercept for that comet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to lose that opportunity.
Okay.
And it gives us that much more time for more R&R and to make sure we're stocked up.
That is true. And here, I'm just looking to see what else learned here. Well, I can tell you a little bit more about these guys. So, thanks to their handy bioscanner and being able to they've managed to get close enough to these things that they can actually use med scanners on them, and they describe them. Their bodies are segmented, of course, between. Let me bring them up so that you can see this picture, because it'll make more sense if you see a picture. Says their body segmented between leg pairs, with the front segment acting as a head and housing visual and olfactory organs, as well as the brain. Senses, they've determined the senses are not sharp, except for an ability to taste the air with sensory organs on the skin of the torso. The breathing apparatus does not include a sense of smell. Reproduction appears to be sexual, although there is little outward difference between genders, and their respiration uses a standard set of lungs, unusual only in that there are 2 pairs of lungs, creating an upper and lower chamber. When air enters the upper chamber, some of it passes to the lower, which is more efficient but slower to extract oxygen. Breathing this is thus a rather weird 2-stage process with a hiccup-like sound in the middle. This does allow the creature to hold their breath and remain entirely still for upwards of 20 minutes at a time, suggesting that at one point in their evolution they may have needed to avoid predators by hiding in water. Their diet seems to be mostly vegetarian, but they can digest meat, and they will take it if they can catch it or if it's found. So, like, they'll sometimes scavenge. Usually, when they scavenge, it'll be in the form of eggs or small snail-like creatures that they can dig out of the ground with a stick, or an occasional nest of insects. They do tend to use primitive tools to dig, cut, or remove obstacles. And some of the communities have learned how to make fish traps. The scientists have noted that not all of these people are using these fish traps, but some of the communities have kind of connected the dots and figured it out. They communicate with wheezing or coughing sounds and are generally cooperative with one another. Usually living in groups of 10 to 20 individuals. They can roam over a wide territory, and they don't seem to be particularly attached to any one particular area. If they are given an option, they will hide and remain still or amble off into the undergrowth rather than get into a direct confrontation. But if you disturb, they seem to set up like refuse piles. Like after they crack open these nuts, they'll toss the shells into a pile. For some reason, if you disturb those refuse piles, that can provoke a family group into a bizarre display of rearing up on one set of hind legs in the air and making a trumpeting, wheezing sound. If this fails, they are able to deliver a nasty bite, but they are pretty much generally considered harmless. That's about all that they've learned of them. They're still trying to use the translator to try and to understand these things. The translator keeps coming back stating that it is not detected as a knowable language. Yet these researchers that have spent time among them, they're clearly seeing signs of communication. But, I mean, the automatic thought of that is that on Terra in the ancient past, cavemen were able to communicate with one another, but may not have had an actual language. I mean, Neanderthal may have communicated by pointing and grunts and facial expressions. That doesn't mean that they had a spoken language. So, but these guys are adamant that they are communicating, so there must be some form of communication going on. Although the translator is still unable to determine coughing and wheezing and trumpet sounds as being a valid language. So that, you guys can mark off another 3 weeks. You guys are down here. You guys are in command. There's not a whole lot for you guys to do. You can study. You can sit there and eat barbecued chicken raptors. Not a whole lot to do. But the end of the 3 weeks, and of course,
so that puts me at 9.
So at 8. So what are you studying?
Mechanic.
Yeah. Do you already have mechanic? Or not?
No. I just want it to be trained.
Okay. So go ahead and make a 2D plus your education. And you want to get 8 or better.
I'm not sure I did that right. If I hit the education button, what did that do? Is that 2D plus my education?
Yes, it is.
Well, then I fucked up.
Well, so you didn't get mechanic this time, but you are 1 week into your next 8-week study period for your next try.
Okie dokie.
Did Sarda get complete a study period?
No, we seem to be on a very different cycle. I'm
Some of you are, yeah.
I'm at I think I'm at 4 weeks now because I had just failed that
Right, right.
check.
Yeah,
I'm at 5 weeks. I'm at 5 weeks now.
the cycle will be different depending on if somebody missed a week and they didn't get that study or those weeks for their study period, or if they picked a skill that they already have, they may need more study periods than somebody else. So, it's not going to be uniform, which is fine. I've learned to embrace it. Of course, the researchers are coming at you again, wanting more time.
Pack up your shit. Let's go.
What are they missing?
I mean, make a recon plus. Well, is that what I'm looking for? Sure. Make a recon plus social check. I mean, this is pretty.
7.
I would say that that this would just going to be a routine 6+ check. They're inventing reasons. Mostly what it boils down to is them whining and complaining that the 2 months, even with the couple of extra weeks, is just not enough time to research an entire new sentient life form and ecosystem.
So what I will tell them is that they have 1 week to create a long-term study that will be automated, and we will attempt to return to this planet on our way back.
Okay. Make a your choice. You can either make a persuasion plus social or a leadership plus social.
I think they're the exact same. So I will roll persuade.
Okay.
And an 8.
So they seem they're not excited, of course, because I mean anybody who has done any kind of science work, automated stuff is not as good as actually being there. It's just not.
Sure.
I mean that. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the reasons why I kind of ditched on archaeology and anthropology, because 99% of it is sitting in a fucking library, and the rest of it, that 1% is actually getting to go on a dig, and we were all living for those times where we could actually go on a dig, and they were few and far between. So. They're not excited, but they of course accept the ruling. I mean, you guys are in command, so they take an additional. You guys can add another week to your study periods. They take an additional week, setting up some kind of automated research, and things move forward, breaking down the camp. And
in the meantime, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into their civilization by building a fish weir in one of the rivers.
Okay.
Just by sticking sticks in the water. Shallow water, you stick the sticks in the water to make a little trap where fish can go in and they can't get out.
Right.
And so just leave it. It's one of those things where
you'll come back in in 10 years and they'll have like firearms and
that's fine. Yeah.
A 3-party political system.
I'm just gathering from context that there's no prime directive in Traveler.
No.
Yes.
No. Terraform. That's the way to go.
Right. Yes. So leave a Bic lighter sitting out somewhere for them to find. So yeah, the week goes by. These guys set up a number of what amounts to trail cams and some data collection equipment, and they're of course still bitching and moaning about this because the problem that the researchers have with this idea is that the people of P3 aren't territorial, and so they tend to range in a wide area. And so, the question among the researchers really is, well, how much data are we really going to collect? Because there's no guarantee that they're going to come back to this place. Blah blah blah.
I have an alternative solution.
What's your alternative?
Fucking stay.
Just leave them here?
Yep. Stay up.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you say that. Well, I mean, I don't know how Sarda feels about that.
He's much nicer than me.
I'm sorry. What was it about? What?
His so Mel's alternative is to just tell him. I mean, if you guys want to research these things so much, just fucking stay.
Hypothetically, we could offer that as an option for a couple people. We've definitely picked up more people than we've lost since we started, but I'd kind of prefer that not to be the case.
Yeah.
I
So,
told you it's nicer than me.
I will allow, since it was Mel's idea, I will allow Mel to make an admin plus either education or intellect.
Judas Priest.
It's going to be one of those things.
I'm actually good at this role.
Yeah.
And that's the best I could do.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's not like you're doing, you're not doing calculus. So, so this, you kind of crunch the numbers. And for say a group of 5 researchers with equipment, they're going to need supplies. They're going to need shelter, which, I mean, you could simply leave some of these prefabs built. And they're going to need power generator. If you were to leave them with one of the Vendaras, the air rafts, I mean, the Vendara could probably, if they use it sparingly, they could probably make the Vendara last 2 or 3 years. The portable...
Here's a Bowie knife and a tarp.
Right. A portable generator, I mean, yeah, it could probably last them, if they use it sparingly, they could probably make that portable generator last a good 5 years. I mean, you are talking about a fusion reactor. There's plenty of water on the planet. So, theoretically, 5 people would be doable, and you'd only lose 1 Vendara. That's not terrible.
It would, they'd be, you would not be paid for those 5.
Right.
Yeah, there's no back pay.
Yes, this is an OT.
This would be an unpaid leave of absence.
Yes,
Accrual of vacation time
With-
or any other PTO.
With the understanding that we may not choose to reemploy you on return.
right. Yes. Yeah, and I mean,
We may determine you are no longer employable after having spent all of that time here insane.
well, and I mean,
these
of course, you would have to clear this with the bridge command, but I mean, and the decision would have to be made. How are you going? Are you going to allow the researcher to pick their 5 people, or are you going to take that off of their shoulders and pick the 5 people yourself, or?
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that there are a lot of other possible species to discover on the remainder of our journey, and maybe you should be just satisfied with the research you've conducted here and the opportunity to return and collect data, because we will have the opportunity to maybe do this over and over again as we continue to travel.
That's a good point too. I'll allow you to make a persuasion plus social. You can make that with a boon. Roll 3 and take the 2 highest.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you are left to rot on a planet. The Boone? How do I do
Yeah,
that
because I
again?
mean they're going to be here for I mean theoretically 10 or more years before Deepnight makes it back this way.
And that's assuming we actually succeed in our mission.
Right.
That's a big assumption.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the that's
I-
the
I'm willing to do that.
yeah, that's looking on the bright side that you're actually going to make it back.
All right, with a Boone 11.
Okay. So yeah, they can. I mean, the conversation about crunching the numbers to see about leaving them, that was private you and um, between you and Sarda. But that conversation does appear to have been kind of overheard by a couple of people. One of those people being Annalise, and another one of them being Taran Reed. And their ears are pricking up, like, what? Why are we talking about leaving people? But they didn't listen to enough of the conversation to really, you know, to really get the gist of everything that's going on. But you are able to convince these researchers that you're right. There are other things to discover and research, and we should look forward to that. And so after a week, well, not a week. After during this week that they're setting up this research, of course, you guys have been packing up camp, and Pappy brings you back to Revelation. Of course, as soon as all of the ground crew is back to Revelation, all of this is getting checked back in to inventory. And one of the, that's going to take at least a day or two. But in the middle of all this, as they're checking everything back into inventory, the ship hasn't left yet because we don't want to leave shit behind. One of the crewmen comes to you and states that he says, I don't mean to be a bother, but we're missing a bunch of stuff.
Can you narrow that down?
Well, we're technically missing a we're missing a Vendara. We are missing here. We're missing a Vendara. We're missing a Ranger ATV. And he says one of the pinnaces hasn't come back yet. It's still on the surface. Or, we're assuming it's still on the surface. It's not here.
Who's unaccounted for?
That is an equally good question. Well, he tells you. Where's my list? Here's my list. He tells you Ardath Yount is missing. It has not been accounted for among the crew. Manil Strickland is missing. Radshir Brissett is missing. I mean, you're going through this list. There's probably a good 25 crew members that are unaccounted for. And as you're looking through this list, the crewman says makes a comment. He says, "Yeah, well," he says, "Annalise might as well be missing. I mean, she hasn't done any work, and she's been. I mean, we know that she's checked in, but nobody's seen her. We don't know what she's doing, and so clearly she's not doing her job. So she might as well be missing too."
All right. So we need to round over. So is she on the ship or not on the ship?
She is checked in as being on the ship.
All right, let's go find her and figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever wants to, you can make an electronic sensors plus intellect or education.
Sure.
That's the other thing about Annalise. She doesn't appear to be overly smart. I doubt that she took her watch off.
14.
Okay. So you do find Annalise. She is in the full no, I'm sorry. She's in the docking space. In the uh, starboard docking space is where her current location is.
Okay. Let's head there.
Okay. So as you just so I know where you is at. So this docking space is fairly large. I mean, the docking spaces generally are going to hold your ship's boats and your pinnaces, and you know how important it is to hold your pinnace. The full hangars are actually where the two scout ships, the Desnex, and there's one other scout ship. So those full hangars actually hold the 200-ton scout ships, whereas the docking space holds multiple vessels. Both of you can make a Recon plus intellect check.
Oh, today's not my fucking day.
No, that's a win. Yeah, you just keep getting those ones. I know this is gonna sound stupid, but it's become a habit with us in my Saturday game. Whenever we start getting on a roll of rolling those shitty numbers, we change the color of our dice, and I shit you not, man, 9 times out of 10 it works. It's almost as good as when you're playing at a table and you're like, fuck these dice, I'm gonna grab these other dice. And I know statistically it shouldn't make a difference, but it does. It works every time. So
60% of the time.
60% of the time it works every time. Right. So you guys, as you come in to this docking space, you note that there are a lot of supplies traded, like they are. These don't look like they've been used yet. These look fresh, like they're being ready to be loaded onto a ship rather than being unloaded from a ship. And you come to find Annalise is loading up. Find it here. Annalise is loading up one of the Deepnight boats with this cargo. Her and 3 other crewmates. In fact, Annalise. Okay, so as you see these people loading stuff up, and I need to find that too. Here we go. So as you are approaching, you see all these crated supplies and whatnot. Annalise and these 3 other crewmates are loading this stuff up onto this ship's boat, and she sees you guys coming, and she pulls out Instel Arms IS-4C Gauss pistol, the littler ones. It is one of these smaller pistols. And points it at you guys and says, it's this one. Not the revolver, but the small.
You'll never take me alive, copper.
No, she yells out. She says, "That's far enough, commanders. I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to use this, but we're going back down. We're just re-upping our supplies, and we plan to make a stay here."
Why?
Well,
And I'm going to attempt to read surface thoughts.
okay. Go ahead and make a psi plus telepathy check.
Oh, hey, I actually succeeded.
Yes. So she, of course, just basically rambles off and says that she and many others have decided that uh, that we are sick of this mission. We're sick of traveling, and at this point, we want to settle down on the planet's surface. In fact, one of the researchers is currently either at or on their way to the bridge to sell the idea to the command staff, to the captain and the XO. And she says, all we're asking for is to take one of the Deepnight scouts and this ship's boat, and we've already got a couple of ground vehicles down there. That's all we want, and some supplies to get us going. And Deepnight can leave without us. We're done with traveling.
Well, does your combined back pay, cover the cost of one of these ships?
Probably not.
You're going to be in.
Well, so why don't we go and find out what the response from command structure is? I mean, there's no reason for you to be stealing away with a ship like this. If you know, so let's go and talk to the command structure right now.
Okay, go ahead and make a persuade plus intellect or persuade plus social check.
God, you are so much more reasonable than me.
You're like, I'm just gonna shoot him.
Thought crossed my mind.
Well, that's double sixes, man.
So she lowers her pistol and she says, Commander, I didn't think that you were going to be so reasonable about this.
Well, you got to think about it. If we didn't agree with you, we would just blow up everything you take, right? I mean, that is what they're capable of. So there's no reason to sneak away, because that only increases the chance that they take an unreasonable retaliatory response. So let's go and find out what command thinks about this idea. That way you're not mutinying or going AWOL, you're leaving with permission.
She says, well, that does seem reasonable. And so she
But in terms of the psychic telepathy, there's nothing that seemed to be. This is all her true feelings.
These are her true feelings.
Okay.
I mean, everything that you are reading off of her, that is her surface thoughts.
That she just wants to get the hell out of the spaceship.
Yeah, you are. I mean, along with those being her surface thoughts, you're detecting an overwhelming. Almost what you would consider like background noise in her surface thoughts of just essentially have you ever worked at a job that you fucking hated for too long before you decided to quit? And it was like, okay, I'm either going to burn the office down or I'm just not going to show up for work one day. I'm not even going to quit or call in. I'm just not going anymore. One of those situations, I've been there. I've done that at least once. Fuck you, Stream International. But, so that's basically the background noise is that of her surface thoughts is that this is not, essentially this isn't what they were. This isn't what she thought it was going to be. This wasn't really how. This wasn't really how the job description was sold to a lot of these crew members, and you have to keep in mind Annalise and a lot of these crew members that the 25 are low on the totem pole, and so. When you look at this, you have to realize that a lot of these people may not have even known about the Deepnight entity until a day or two before launch. I mean, they weren't.
It was just sold as an exploration. It wasn't sold as
right.
A seek and destroy. It was a exploration.
Right, and of course, there was of course the impetus for Deepnight LIC to hire people without all the facts and to glorify it. I mean, there was the Imperium itself glorified this mission, making it seem much grander than the constant fight for trying to find food and trying to find supplies. Nobody even seemed to bring up to a lot of people about the fact that you're talking about a ship that usually needs a refit every couple of years, having to be band-aided along or not get the refits at all. Nobody even brought that up to a lot of these crew members. And so, I mean, unless they were working in the engineering department, a lot of these crew members probably wouldn't even think to ask. That wasn't their bailiwick. Annalise does work in engineering, and she was probably sold a bill of goods. That there would be, long-range telemetry said that there was probably some way for there to be minor refits and things of that nature. You guys have done 2 in the 6 years that you've been out, and so, and they weren't great. They were what bubblegum, baling wire, and some duct tape, and you move on. The last one you did, you actually used TL9 parts and TL15 ship. So, it's working, kind of. So, I mean, yeah, there's just this overwhelming. I guess you could, if depression was a thought rather than an emotion, there's just this overwhelming background noise. Which honestly isn't really. That too is not really something that's new for you guys. You kind of knew that most of the crew were depressed, anyways.
Right.
So you make your way to the bridge command room, and in here, of course, is and I was looking that guy up. Yes. You walk in, and on the hologram in the holobay, they've got the surface up, and it is a holographic image of the surface, and they are looking at the captain and the XO. Captain Belmont and the first officer are looking at the surface where your landing site was, which was your base camp, and also in the room is the Black Marketeer that Mel chose, Carlos Miracaru. And I mean, as soon as you walk in with Annalise, you can see the captain. The captain's pissed. He's not happy. And the XO has got a tablet in his hand, and he's kind of going over a list, and Miracaru is just kind of standing there waiting. And the XO is reading the list. He's like, God damn it, you guys are going to take... I mean, we cannot give you this stuff. He's like, there's what? I'm looking at this list. There's 30 people total, and we cannot afford to give you one of the 2 Deepnight Scouts. We only have 2. One is the Destinex, the other is in reserve. He says, and really, we can't afford to give you any of the ships. We're going to need those. He says the loss of even a single boat means that our refueling capacity is diminished. That means that our mission takes longer. And the captain's still not saying anything. And Miracaru says, well, he says, sir, I don't mean to put this too harshly, but as far as I'm aware, operations are already undergoing to take this stuff anyways. So this is more of a courtesy.
I brought the captain of that group with us to find out the results of this meeting.
And so the captain says, well, he says, he looks at at you, and he looks at Annalise, and he says, Sarda and Mel, what are your opinions? Obviously, he says the Exo's right. He says we cannot afford to give them the two ships. We could theoretically, I suppose, maybe drop them off groundside and let them keep the Vendara and the Scarier, and the Exo just kind of goes, oh. Now we're going to give them, ground vehicles. I mean, what are we going to do when we need those? And he says, well, we could probably afford to give them the Vendara and the Scarier, but I don't see how we could give them the boat or the Scout. There's no way we can give them the Scout. Period.
But first of all, I wouldn't want to have this discussion in front of them, but since we are, I wouldn't want to give them anything. They're the ones choosing to leave the expedition here in the middle of nowhere. We have been in civilizations where they could easily have gotten off. We will probably go to other civilized locations where they could easily get off. Just because they happen to dig their heels in here doesn't mean that we're obligated to provide them with what they need to survive in a place that they've chosen to exit the ship in.
And the Exo says, God damn right. He's like, sir, I can go ahead and get some security forces rounded up, and we can go collect those people, or at the very least, collect our supplies and our two ground vehicles.
So I want to make sure I understand the whole situation. And I'm blanking on his name, Mikaru?
Yeah, Mirakaru.
I set him up to provide the black market stuff, and now he is not just supplying these mutineers, he's one of them.
Technically,
If
no.
that's the case, he might as well get off here, because the other way is he's gonna go is I'm gonna fucking space.
Send him out an airlock. Yeah, technically, no. He's not a mutineer. They came to him and they wanted access.
Literally everything he has.
You gave him, right?
Is to benefit the members of this crew,
right.
Not mutineers. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Right, and I mean, as you're chosen as Black Marketeer, and he even brings this up. He says, he goes, I was just following the game plan you set up, Coach. They came to me. They wanted supplies for their little. He goes, he says, mutiny is really just such a harsh word. They wanted to get off the ride, and so I set them up with that. He says, now I did not set them up with the ground vehicles, and I did not set them up with launch bay codes for any ships. I just set them up with camp supplies and some minor items that would probably not go missing or even be noticed for many, many months. He goes, and let's face it, the camp supplies and stuff we can remake. We can build those with the.
But since we would, the thing is right there, we wouldn't notice it for many, many months until they're absolutely critical. Correct? Because that's when you notice that all of a sudden survival supplies are not there. It's when you absolutely need them right now. And so that's why stealing stuff from the ship is usually frowned on.
And he kind of shrugs and goes, I mean, I'm your black market contact. It's like, right? I mean, he says, technically I did my job.
Yeah, no, because you're supposed to be supplying people who are part of the crew.
Exactly.
Not defecting from the crew.
Is that tomato? Okay,
no.
I mean...
That space door is getting closer and closer.
So it's like, like I said, I didn't. It was not my idea to give them the ship's boat, or, or I didn't give it to them. That wasn't me. I just gave them some ration packs and some camping gear, and maybe a couple of weapons. Most of those were stuff that were already unaccounted for. So whatever.
You're
That was
arming
enough.
mutineers. You've armed mutineers, right? So that's what you're basically saying.
There was never a plan for them to use it against you guys or against anybody from the ship. They, of course, are going down on a wild, untamed planet. They need some kind of protection.
They're leaving the crew, and you are giving them our weapons to leave.
Well, I mean, I can see it. I can see it your way. Yeah.
You are not to sell anything to anyone who is leaving the crew.
Annalise kind of pipes up and she says, "I'm the one who took the ship's boat, and while we were packing stuff up, I mean, nobody down on the surface seemed to notice that you were missing one of the Vendara air rafts or the scary or the not the scarier the ATV. So
Yeah,
I mean,
but we do count things before we leave a planet. We'd have noticed we're missing stuff and people. That's
especially
it's
especially a fucking ATV.
we're really good at taking inventory.
Yeah, that's like coming back from a camping trip and being like, "Fuck, we forgot to bring the RV home." Like,
Yeah, that's a Home Alone
yes,
55.
yes. So yeah, the XO is ready to go down and bring these people back by force, or at the very least, bring back their shit.
Yeah, we're gonna go get their stuff.
Okay.
And if they
we-
choose to not stay as a result of not having the stuff, we'll be happy to take them as well.
Okay. So how are you guys equipping for said stuff gathering?
I'm just gonna go down there in the way I normally go around. So it's vac suit, stunner, and the
Gas pistol.
Gauss pistol. Yeah.
All right. What about Mel?
Where was that giant fucking mech suit that you had up here?
Oh, the exploration. So these are so the exploration suit. You're probably not going to be authorized for this, but this is for extreme dangerous shit. Corrosive, insidious atmospheres, or extreme gamma radiation type shit. When you're out on either on a planetoid or on the surface, the hull of the ship, shit like that. These are extreme and extreme environment stuff. I think you can even go. Let's see, what is this? Oh, it'll operate on sustained operations in 14 G's of gravity. I mean, this thing is heavy duty. It'll 1,000 it'll depths of up to 1,000 meters of water. Yeah, these things are hardcore. Shit, these things are even honestly more powerful than some battle dress. It was like industrial battle dress.
Here's the thing. They're armed. Are we really just going to go down in the vac suits?
No, when he said vac suits, I expected these. This is what you meant, right, Sarda?
No, I actually meant
Oh.
my normal vac suit.
Oh, just a general purpose vac suit. Okay.
Yeah, the one I normally wear. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the hostile environment suits, or HEV. These are basically what you guys normally wear, and they are a little bit bulkier, but they are Also used by security in situations where they need, some kind of heavy duty combat armor.
I'm hoping to convince them that they shouldn't be stupid enough to attack us because there's a whole lot of other people that will also that'll retaliate.
Right.
So I figure going in large armor undercuts my message.
Yeah. Um. Sorry.
I get this strong suspicion we're going to get shot at.
It is possible. Yes. Security forces are probably going to be going down in this. This is pretty much standard security force body armor, which is what you guys were initially equipped with until you made some early changes of wanting the uh, HEV suits. And then
I think that I think I'm going to feel more comfortable in the hazardous environment suit.
okay, yeah, this is a general vac suit, but I think the one that started yours is better than plus 10, isn't it?
I think mine is plus 10. But it's tech level 14.
Right.
Uh, I've been using that since.
Yeah, these are the standard general purpose vac suits. Not that you really need one down there. It's a shirt sleeves environment, but the armor's nice.
Yeah, no, I've got a tech level 12 vac suit that I normally wear that's got auto med kit. It's got a tactical video suit. It's got chameleon full motion,
Oh yeah, you had a whole bunch of options added to that.
computer weave, self sealing, smart fabric, magnetic grapples, a coolant rig, and extended life support. Yeah, so that's what I'm usually wearing.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that works.
and
Yeah, and then how are you going for weaponry? I mean, of course, in addition to whatever you normally carry, I mean, if you wanted, these are additional long arms that are available. Um, there are some additional sidearms, of course. I think you both have gun combat slug, right?
yeah, and energy. So I've got the stunner
Well, if you have energy,
and a Gauss pistol.
if you have energy, this might
I've only got slug.
you might be interested in some of these.
Yeah, I don't want to escalate for this meeting. That would be a definite escalation.
Yeah, the bring out the Barrett Light 50 of laser weapons. Other sidearms, of course, these are typical. I mean, in fact, Mel might want to pick up one of these CS5s. It's a body pistol. Slip that into a boot or something like that.
All right. That sounds good to me.
I saw this, I was like, yeah, that looks like something a black marketeer or a broker would wear. Well, a backup piece. The IS4 is standard, standard issue to anybody that wants one. And then if you want to go, full cowboy, there's the 635. chambered for an 8.9 millimeter caliber round. That's a big bullet.
Yeah, that's not a flechette.
No, no, an 8.9 millimeter. That's what? That's almost 9 millimeter. I mean, that's 38 caliber, somewhere around there. The IS-4C is usually designed for um, the smaller crewmates, like Annalise. So as soon as you guys agree that you're going to go down and get your shit back, the XO hits a button, and the doors to the command room open up, and in a couple of security guards, and he says, "Arrest both of these." And he points to Mirakaru and Annalise, and they're like, "Wait, what?" And they get put into cuffs and taken to to holding. They're thrown in the brig. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but I
That
mean,
escalated a little quickly.
the XO's for perfectly happy with that. He was like, "If we're gonna go down and get our stuff, then those two are arrested." He goes, "But
Yeah.
as far as I've also sent security forces to the docking space, and the other the other three that are there, they can be arrested too. But as far as the 25 that are missing that are down on planet side, they can stay there. But I don't want them to stay there with our equipment. We can't afford to lose it."
Yep.
All right, so boarding the Desnex, I assume.
Yeah.
Pappy brings you back down to the planet. So this, of course, is the landing site, which is the easiest place to set down. Um, Once you have set down at the landing site, it takes you hacking and slashing your way through the jungle. It takes you probably another 10 hours to get to where this research camp is that these guys have set up, their little mutineers camp.
Wait, they stole our shit and then made me walk?
Yep. Yeah.
Bastards.
Those guys are dicks.
Why would we have to walk?
Well, I mean, I suppose you have the option. You can cut that probably down to like 3 hours.
Well, we're gonna want to load this crap in the Destinax, right?
So the security came down in two pinnaces with the idea of loading up the two vehicles, because if you so the pinnace, here is the pinnace. Whoops. So a Deepnight pinnace has cargo space of 20 tons. Maybe one can get them. It's got a cargo space of 20 tons. A Vendara shipping weight is 12 tons, and then was the Ardent. Yeah, Ardent ATV has a shipping weight of 18 tons. So, yeah, you'd need two of them. So yeah, they brought down two, just so that they could load up these two, and then any additional gear, they figured you could load into the Destinex's cargo hold. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, hmm,
I don't particularly want to have to haul that shit out for hours to get back to the Desinex.
well, I mean, technically you don't have to because you could load that shit up into the Ardent and into the Vendara and drive it out. You know what I'm saying?
How big is the Desinex compared to this clearing?
Well, the Destinex is 200 tons, so I mean it's going to take up a good portion. I mean, there's no real big. I mean, this is a tent, so I mean, Destinex 200 D10 ship is going to take up most of this map. I would think,
All right.
or a good portion of it. Uh, but does either one of you have drive wheeled or
I
drive?
do not.
I do not.
Those
Yeah,
be-
that we discovered that last game that we are woefully unprepared to be.
yes. I mean, there is technically still this. Um, yeah.
We used to have a driver. Remember our old Gecko?
Yeah. Does either one of you have flyer?
I do not.
I mean, technically speaking,
I don't.
one of the security guys could fly it. Shipping is 12 tons. Would this even fit?
The doctor might have flyer.
The
I
doctor,
can't
yeah,
remember.
the doctor does. Yeah, let's see.
I'm not sure. You might want to double check.
He does. In fact, he was doing the flying last time. In fact, he crashed it into the side of the mountain.
Perfect. Perfect.
But that was from a bad roll, not from not having the skill. It had the Deepnight Scout only has 17 tons of cargo. So technically speaking, yeah, the Vendara would fit into the Deepnight Scout's hull or into its cargo hold. Then you just have to decide whether you want the
Oh
18.
yeah, it's only 12 tons shipping weight.
Right. So then you
So
have to just decide if you want the
gotta
ATV
break-
version or the flatbed.
What I mean, what do you mean by that? Aren't we collecting this?
This is one that would have to be collected, and somebody's gonna have to drive it back. I mean,
Right,
not,
so-
not necessarily you guys. Security can drive this back.
Right, but we're not choosing whether it's whatever it is.
No, I'm saying that you could take one of these in the Destinex with you to shorten that 10 hours down to 3.
None of us know how to fly the damn. Oh, I guess if Wes is going to be there with us, I guess
Yeah.
he technically
Yeah,
does. So
he's got like a +1 to flyer.
all right, sure. Let's bring one down to haul shit back.
Okay. So did you want the ATV version or the flatbed?
Let's get the flatbed.
Okay. All right. So that cuts your travel time down to about 3 hours. And Wes, well, let's see if there's any. No. Wes sets you down, and then these guys. They do see. I mean, it's hard to hide an air raft landing in the jungle. So they are obviously alerted that you're going to show up. Find some. That should be good. Actually. Alright, giving these guys some physical stats. And I figured it'd be easier to just copy and paste them. Give you 6 up here. Yes, there are 25 total, but these are the ones that are armed. And the ones that you'll have to deal with. And I will just add the 2 of you for now. We'll just make it really simple. Why is it every time I roll for initiative, that's when the rolls are shitty, right? So, how are you guys approaching? I suppose, go ahead, both of you roll initiative. 2d plus your intellect or your dexterity, whichever you choose.
Okay, this is like my token first.
Alright. And
So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna walk out, both hands up in the air, and go, "Hey guys, let's talk."
okay.
Bec-
Hold on. I'm also going to give each of you a security guard.
Because if anybody gets shot, it means you're mutineers, which means we pour napalm on this entire campsite. So no one's getting shot, right?
Okay, go ahead and make a persuasion plus social check. Label these. There. So each of you have control of those security guards.
Sure.
Okay, so what'd you...
12 of us persuade.
Okay, so they... Fingers are off the triggers. They do not lower their weapons. And they... they are like, we're not going back.
That's fine. We're here to conduct your exit interviews. There are ways you quit an organization. Clearly, you've not been explained those methods. But we are going to be conducting exit interviews, and we will be collecting company property that you are not entitled to take with you. And again, there will be no gunshots because that means we have to rain down napalm and kill everyone in this campground. And that would be a foolish thing to want.
Where did you want your security your security guard to move?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't. I guess here.
Okay. Uh, so Sarda's engaging with these idiots. Mel, what are you doing?
I don't know. Crossing by the rapids seems like a terrible idea. How
Well,
many spaces do I
if you
move?
fall in, you could go for a little water ride.
I think it's like, was it 4 squares per action, and you get 3 actions?
Yeah, you can move 6 meters. So 1, 2,
I,
3. Yeah,
I'm
four
just moving.
squares or 4 hexes.
I'm just moving.
Okay.
Moving.
Did you want to say anything? Are you aiming?
Not aiming. Sarda's trying to smooth things over. Not gonna undermine them. I might say, or the alternative is you can buy this equipment. Your call.
Hmm. So, are you gonna are you are you going to suggest that they could buy the equipment?
Not yet.
Okay. So the mutineers, and we're just going to call them what they are, mutineers. This one, we'll say that he's the leader. He kind of steps forward to this fast moving little river that's going here, and he says, "Well, just so you know, we're not going back."
We're not trying to take you back. We want to conduct your exit interview, and we wish to collect company property that you may have taken without permission.
And this one kind of moves over here and says, "Well, I can see what they're trying to do. They're going to try and take all our gear." And
No, we're taking our gear.
Our gear.
You chose to exit a spaceship, mid-trip, and that's fine. You're always welcome to leave. This is a particularly nice planet. If you'd asked ahead of time, think of all could have gone into to make a viable home base for you. We could have been building all of the survival goods you needed to do well here. We've spent 5 weeks here. 5 weeks that could have been planning for the success of your colony, but instead you chose not to say anything and then sneak off the ship and steal stuff.
that is
And
a
so,
really good point. That is a
and
really
so,
good point.
so what we're telling you is that you do not need to leave, but you need to give back everything you stole.
Make a make a persuasion plus social check.
12.
Nice. And this mutineer, he kind of directly states, he says, that you're right. You're right. We could have approached this differently. He says, but honestly, and he looks around. He goes, "How many of you knew that you wanted to leave the ship when we first came here? I mean, we thought honestly when we sat down that this was going to be a nice little 2 month break. But the longer we stayed here, the more we just didn't want to leave." Make
Well,
uh, Mel and Sarda, you can make a I'll make a recon plus intellect.
Yeah, is there something in the air?
Actually, I would allow Mel. You can. It's your choice, either recon plus intellect or recon plus education.
I'm always going to choose education, but is there something in the air that's keeping these people like that's?
that's why I tried to check psychically whether there was anything that might be influencing him at the time, but didn't notice anything yet.
Oh, I know who this person is. Shit, I forgot about her. So, and you're going to be really disappointed in this. Sarda.
That's fine.
The leader of the group is actually Genevieve, the one that you set up for your little special needs think tank.
Oh, perfect.
And she tells you, so you, the reason why I had you make the Recon Plus education check, so it occurs to Mel that what is going on here, it's not something in the air or water or even the food that they're eating. This is a psychological situation that, I mean, no matter how much um, Bocephus has done, and he's done a lot to try and counterman this, this is what can only be described as a reverse wanderlust. Instead of wanting to go out and explore the galaxy, now these people, they just have a desire to sit and stay in one place for at least a little bit of time. And 2 months isn't really going to cut it for them. They're just fed up and done. They don't want to go anymore.
I'm just wondering with the mass psychosis, why all of a sudden 25 people are like, you know what, fuck it, we're done. Rather than leave them at,
Yeah. I mean, it never.
Mos Eisley or some other similarly, go drinking carouse and hang out with humans. They want to get off the ship.
What was it that George Carlin said? Never underestimate the stupidity of idiots in a large group. It's like it compounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys are just it's just the reverse of Wanderlust. Now there is just an overriding desire to just sit and stop traveling. Kind of imagine that that's kind of how, some of these people, like on the Oregon Trail and whatnot, felt. And this is why you end up with towns all along that trail, from all the way back east, all the way to Oregon. That trail is just dotted with towns. Well, it's because people just got sick of it and just decided to stay. You know what I mean? Or, oh, half the family died of dysentery. I guess we'll just set up shop here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to tell her that I'm disappointed that she didn't have more foresight in how she chose to abandon ship. I mean, it seems so poorly planned. It was one of the things we thought you were bringing to the table was your ability to think.
She genuinely looks sad at that, and she says I do apologize. You treated me very well. You tried to stave this off, but she says it's just too much. I just can't go on.
I appreciate that, but we're now in a situation where we need certain resources that you have chosen as a group to take without any advance warning, any discussion. At no point did any of you come forward to say that we actually wish to stay permanently.
You hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is not. We realize that crew will come and go, and so at any point in time, if you wish to stay, you could have said, "I wish to stay," and we could have come up with a solution that would help you survive here, rather than you buying it through a black market dealer and taking things that would have been on our inventory supplies until we needed them and discovered that they were suddenly missing. That's the thing that worries me the most. I'm not worried about anything we can replicate, and so that probably honestly includes even the guns, right? Because we can technically replicate.
You technically, yeah. Especially with the replicator that Wes made sure to purchase before leaving charted space. Yeah, I mean.
And so I'll say, the larger vehicles we cannot leave with you.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically replicate most of the parts for those, and you've got machine shops. But I mean, holy shit, how long is that erector set going to take to put together?
Right. And so, I'll just tell them we need the larger vehicles. And at the same time, if any of you wish to return, there will be no penalties assigned. And now that you realize that we are willing to let you leave without sneaking off, you could maybe plan to leave at the next garden planet we land at, or the next civilized planet that we reach, so that you don't have to just live in the forest and hope that we someday return.
Make a persuasion plus social check, and you can make that with a boon.
Cancel that. Boon. $10.
Okay. So, out of the 25, you are able to, 2 of them agree to go back. They realize the stupidity of their ways. Genevieve, she seems to think that you're being more than reasonable. And she says, you know, it'll be difficult, but I think we can get by without the Vendara and the Ardent. And I mean, this causes several of the ones that are on the other side of the river to just be, oh, come on! I mean, how are we supposed to get around? Blah, blah. She says we can get around the way we have for the past couple of weeks. We couldn't use them continuously anyways because we don't have a way to recharge them. You know that this is a good compromise. She says, can we keep the camping gear?
Yeah, we can replicate that.
And she says, and of course we would need to keep some weapons to defend ourselves.
Again, we can replicate those. So, knowing what's missing so that we can replicate it and not have our stores be empty is the really critical thing for the Deepnight, right? That's why advanced warning means we can manufacture things for you to keep and not have to worry about our stores being empty. The big thing I would ask is, do you have a way do you have a generator? Do you have...
They do.
All right, so they've got something that can...
Yes, they do have a portable generator.
Okay.
Portable, right. Basically microfusion reactor.
Yeah. They've got source of water.
They've got a source of water, so they can crack the water and refuel it.
And then, do they also have a replicator?
They do not.
Get them one of the smaller replicators. If we probably got one on Desinex, frankly.
Probably yes.
With the way Bocephus uses them.
Yes, I mean, well, and the replicator he bought can generate smaller replicators.
Right. So that's what I meant. We'll give him one of those smaller ones.
So I don't know. How does Mel feel about this?
This might not be the best precedent of that.
Right? Yeah. Right. Like, yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, losing 23 people out of 500. You know, that's not.
The big thing was, I was worried also about how the other 470 people will react to this situation.
True.
And so I'm rather happy that we've got 2 of them returning, because it means that's 2 people that can help calm things down from that end.
So you...
I'm more concerned with the precedent being set by, okay, fine, you're going to...
Well, they're off the payroll. We have been...
a bunch of our shit.
Right.
But the shit that we're leaving them is shit that literally can be replicated. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that is, we're looking at maybe a few hours of mining to get the materials to...
Yeah, a couple of tents and enough tents for 25 people, and firearms for 6 people, and crates and supplies, and
we're not talking about that many cycles of the replicator to make the stuff that we're leaving them with, and so that's why I'm not really freaking out about that. The bigger thing is I'm worried about morale. You don't want crew members to feel that they're enslaved and can't just possibly come and go. At the same time, you want to make sure that when people choose to come and go, they're doing you the courtesy of giving you advance notice and not stealing things when they do so.
Right.
And so, I mean, this is the first time we've really had to deal with that type of thing. So I wanted to establish a precedent where the people that want to quit will not screw us in the future.
Yeah, the last mutiny you had to deal with was they wanted to do a full frontal assault on the security forces of a fucking planet, which probably wouldn't have ended well either. But they didn't want to go down there and live. That's a little different.
So yeah, I mean, these 23 people, I'm writing them off, but I was worried more about what how do you handle it with the other crew. And I was certainly worried about coming back from, well, we had to murder them all.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah, darn.
It does send a different message of, we didn't murder them all, but they're also down there with nothing but Bowie knives and tarps. Right?
Yeah.
We're giving them a goddamn replicator.
Well, yeah, and I mean, let me see if they're smart enough.
The other thing is this is not the time to talk about it. But if we hit another major starport,
right?
If we invite people, like, if you want to quit, now's the fucking time.
Right? Yeah, just get a big, call them all into the docking space so you can get the entire crew in there and be like, okay, if you want to leave, there's the fucking door.
Yeah, I mean,
you're all fucking fired. You can apply for your jobs again if you want to come with us.
So the prospect of scratching out a living in the wilderness for the next 40 years, after the power from any of their micro generators finally runs down and they don't work anymore, has kind of sobered them a bit. But you still only get 2 to come back with you.
All right. Well,
only 2 out of 25.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to make another persuasion plus social check to kind of hit on this, because like I said, there's murmuring. You could hear the murmurings among them that they're going to be living in like cavemen for the next 40 plus years.
You're gonna be living like Swiss Family Robinson, for Christ's sake. We'll put you off the next goddamn starport.
Yeah,
you're dumb.
You could go ahead and make another persuasion. Make a persuasion plus social check.
Or the next planet.
And you can make it with a boon.
Or the next planet like this with preparation. At the very top of your character sheet, it says boon, bane, or it says boon, normal, bane. Click on boon, and it'll roll 3 dice. And you'll get the best of the 2. Holy crap!
Shit. Oh, dude!
It didn't say rolling with boon.
No, it did not.
Yeah, it did not. That's not. You didn't roll with boon.
That's not the real one.
That's a normal.
All right. I clicked boon. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you get another one that is like, yeah, no, fuck this. Now they're right. We're not gonna. I mean, once those generators give out, I mean, the life on one of those micro generators is maybe 10 to 15 years, maybe 20 if you use it sparingly. You're talking about, we're talking about possibly being here for a lot longer than that. And what if? And the one that comes over to your side, he tells him, he says, "What if Revelation fails? They don't come back here. Or what if they come back, but they choose a different route and they don't stop here on the way back?" He's like,
right.
We could be stuck here forever.
Because we have no idea how to get through the rift at this moment. We're hoping we can get through the rift through here, but we don't know.
Right. Yeah. He's like, no, I'm going back. So
we may be back through here in about a month going, yeah, there's no way through the rift. Sorry, guys. Dead end.
Right. So, yeah, out of the 25, you get 3. You have convinced 3 of them to come back with you. But you have secured back the Vendara and the Ardent ATV. which security promptly drives back, brings you guys all back to the landing site, and lifts you off. And you guys basically leave
Yeah.
22 people there.
Make sure they've got a copy of that book, like The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding a Civilization.
Yes.
I think they've watched too many episodes of Alone. I could do that.
You're right. Yes, I'm naked and alone. Well, you're not
Well,
naked yet, but you're gonna be in a couple of years when your clothes deteriorate.
You give them that book and a replicator, you know, they really just need to find the minerals at that point. Probably do that. That would be another nice thing to do. We've been taking surveys of the planet, so I'll make sure to leave them a nice mineral survey.
So, yes. Well, let me.
Leave them a mineral survey and one of those books on how to rebuild civilization.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So refueling at DSR-3 goes as planned. And we will pick up next week with you guys at DSS-2. You can add another 2 weeks to your study.
And that kicks me up to a roll.
Okay, go ahead and what were you studying?
Leadership, so I need to make 2 of these.
Yeah,
but-
go ahead and make a leadership
There's
plus education.
It's just an education roll, right? Or you do it that way? Okay.
Yeah. If you've already got leadership, you can add that to your education.
Nine.
All right, so you've just got, what, another 8-week study period?
I've got 1 period under the belt, so now this goes down to 0 weeks. All right, cool.
All right. We will pick this up hopefully next week. We'll play it by ear with the holiday, but planning on it for 6 o'clock on Friday.
I'm good either way. You know, if we have it off, that's great. If we don't, that's great too. You know, I'm good with either. So whatever's best for everybody else.
All right. Well, I will keep my ear to the ground and we'll figure it out.
All right.
That's good.
Take care, all.
All right. Have a good night, guys.